Welcome to New Possibilities. I speak truth to power without fear. So, earlier today, I was listening to this live stream that Psychopathias and Renee did on his channel, and they were talking about the civil rights movement and separatism and all that kind of stuff. And they were basically, well, I won't say both of them. I'll say Psychopathias was bashing Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. And I just want to take some time to share my thoughts about this issue and about the civil rights movement and all this talk about black separatism. Now, I did a prior video, I think it was over a year ago, entitled Separatism is a Fantasy. I'll post a link in the cards when I get an opportunity to do so. But for this video, I just want to respond to some of the things that they had to say about Martin Luther King and about civil rights and civil rights legislation. Number one, I think that even if someone disagrees with King's ideology, I think that it is ridiculous for someone to attack the Reverend Martin Luther King. And I'm going to explain to you why. First of all, if it wasn't for Dr. King and the civil rights movement, we wouldn't have basic rights that we enjoy today. Rights that we take for granted, such as the right to vote, the right to housing, fair housing without people being able to legally discriminate against you. We have the right to public accommodations. We no longer face the sign saying no colored people allowed. We no longer have to sit at the back of the bus. We no longer have to drink at the colored fountain. We can eat and stay wherever we want, take public transportation without any kind of restrictions. We enjoy fundamental basic rights because of people like Martin Luther King. We have the right to vote because of Martin Luther King. We have all kinds of rights because of this brother. And for someone to criticize him in light of that track record of accomplishment. Now, it wasn't just King that made it possible for us to enjoy these civil rights. You had many organizations such as the NAACP, CORE, SNCC, a whole host of civil rights organizations fighting for equal rights in this country. Because of their fight, we enjoy various civil rights that many of us take for granted. So that's one reason why I would never disrespect Martin Luther King. I would never publicly disrespect him in a video or anything like that, despite ideological differences that I may have for the brother. Another reason why I would not disrespect this brother, because we see the end result of what he's done. Like, he's accomplished all these things, helped us get historic civil rights legislation. We know that there would be no civil rights act and all that stuff if it wasn't for the March on Washington. We know this very well. But in order to make those things happen, this brother had to sacrifice. He sacrificed his safety. He sacrificed his liberty, and ultimately the brother sacrificed his very life. He faced the police dogs. He faced the batons. He faced the gas, the tear gas. He faced the fire hoses. He faced jail time for black people. But yet and still, you have these faceless, anonymous people who hide behind computers having the audacity to question this brother, to attack this brother. When these people that criticize this brother, they're not on the front lines. These people that criticize this brother are hiding behind a computer screen, won't even show their face on camera, won't even use their real names on camera. But yet and still, these people have the nerve, they have the gall, they have the audacity to attack this brother, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, a brother who gave his life for his people. These people won't even give their identity for the people. They won't even show their face for the people, but yet and still, they want to criticize this brother, Martin Luther King. And I can't tolerate that. I can't accept that. It's one thing to disagree with him ideologically. It's another thing to disrespect the brother and all that kind of stuff. And I understand, like, people not agreeing with nonviolence. not agreeing with the idea that people should be nonviolent in the face of violence. I understand people disagreeing with that, but I do not understand people attacking this brother, disrespecting a brother that made it possible for us to enjoy basic human rights and civil rights. I don't understand how people can do that, especially people that don't even have the courage to show their face on here, hiding behind some cartoonish avatars. No disrespect, but I'm just saying, like, how are you going to criticize a man who put his life on the line for the people, man? Who literally gave his life for the people when you don't even have the courage to show your face on camera. And then there's another thing is this, man. These people were saying that, you know, the king, was a mistake. Like the things that he did was a huge mistake. Like it was detrimental to black people. How is civil rights detrimental to black people? How is ensuring that we don't get discriminated on the job detrimental to black people? How is ensuring that we can go to any business that we want to detrimental to black people? How is black people gaining the right to vote detrimental to black people? I don't understand how people make these ridiculous arguments, man. People often want to romanticize the Jim Crow era as if, we were living it up in prosperity during the time of Jim Crow when we had no civil rights, when we had no human rights, in a time when you could be snatched up and lynched, hung from a tree, literally become the strange fruit that Billie Holiday sung about. And nothing happened. No trial, or even if there was a sham trial, the people would literally walk, even though you had plenty of witnesses. We saw what happened in the Emmett Till situation, where Emmett Till was dragged out of the house, beaten beyond recognition, shot in the head, and thrown in a river. Even though you have witnesses, they got away with it. That was the America that we lived under during Jim Crow. But yet and still you got people pretending, imagining Jim Crow as some fantastic time where we were living it up. Some fantastic time where we had all this prosperity and stuff. Pretending like we're in the same plight that our grandparents and parents were under. It's not the same situation. And the other thing is this, man. The core point that I want to raise is this. And that's this idea that this whole separatism movement is based on a fantasy, man. I asked them, I said, when are you going back to Africa? I asked them, like, when are you going to separate from America? They constantly use this analogy of, King saying he integrated his people into a burning house. The question that I have for these people is, when are you leaving this quote unquote burning house? Where is your concrete plan for black separatism or black separation from America? The fact of the matter is they have zero plans to separate from America. No plans at all. All they do is talk about separatism. They claim that they support Marcus Garvey. They claim that he was some role model for them. Marcus Garvey talked about a Back to Africa movement. Marcus Garvey was about Pan-Africanism. But yet and still, these same people that want to talk about how they admire Marcus Garvey, these same people are a part of this ADOS movement that is contrary to everything that this brother Marcus Garvey stood for. Marcus Garvey stood for Pan-Africanism. This ADOS movement stands for tribalism, man. It stands for division among black people, among African people. That's what it stands for. Another thing is this, like they said, well, despite all this separatism rhetoric, when asked about when do they plan to separate, when do they plan to go back to Africa, these people said they don't believe in going back to Africa. After, talking about how much they honor and support Marcus Garvey, they don't believe in going back to Africa. And, I think that that's hypocritical. And these same people, while they speak out against separatists, speak out against people that are, support fighting for equal rights and civil rights in this country and support, the electoral process. While they speak out against those people, they don't advocate actually leaving America. They want to stay here and fight for reparations, what they call reparations. That is, by its nature, a part of integration, man. It's like, how are you going to speak out against integration when you are low key advocating it? You're advocating remaining in the United States, fighting for, reparations from the United States. But yet and still, you want to talk about all this separatism rhetoric. Even they don't even have a concrete plan to establish any kind of separate territory within the United States. But yet and still, they want us to believe that they actually believe in this separatism ideology. They want us to believe that they have some kind of plan. When asked about this, these people have no plan at all. They acknowledge this. They say, well, this probably won't even happen in my lifetime or anything like that. That's what these people acknowledge. They have no plan of action. But yet and still, they want to criticize people who are using the political process to get legislation passed that will be beneficial to Black people. Why they criticize the electoral process and legislation, these same people are actually seeking reparations. Don't they realize that reparations requires one to participate in the political system? It requires you to elect, politicians who support reparations. Do they not realize this? Do they not realize that in order to have reparations, you have to pass laws to at least study reparations, or if not compensate people and provide reparations? But yet and still, these people criticize the legislative process. They say that that's a fantasy, even though we have concrete examples of legislation being passed that has improved the lives of Black people. No one can say that we're in the same exact condition that our grandparents were in or that our parents were in. You can't say that. We no longer see those colored signs and all that kind of stuff. No colors allowed signs. We enjoy the right to vote. We got more billionaires and millionaires in the Black community than we've ever had. But yet and still, these people want to act like we're living in virtual slavery times right now. Yeah, I mean, it's just, and the thing is, like, these same people that talk about how the legislative process is, it's fantasy to believe in it, these same people have to believe in it if they're talking about getting reparations, man. They talk about fantasies. But yet and still, they actually believe that the group of people that held Black people in bondage for hundreds of years, the group of people that Jim Crowed us for decades, lynched us, deprived us of voting rights, segregated us, humiliated us, enslaved us, and beat us, and forced us to work without compensation. They actually believe that these people are going to give up trillions upon trillions of dollars to Black people, and they want to talk about how it's a fantasy to believe in the electoral process. So yeah, man, I just had to hop on here for a quick second. For a more thorough discussion of this issue of, Black separatism being a fantasy, I encourage you all to check out my video on this subject, my very first video on this subject. I will again post a link in the cards so that you could check that out, and watch it for yourself. It goes into far more detail. And I may do a follow-up to this video, just providing more information. But I just think it's ridiculous, man. It's ridiculous for people to attack Martin Luther King, a man who sacrificed his very life for his people, a man who, faced the dogs, faced the jail time, faced the batons, faced the rocks, and was ultimately killed, was locked up for Black people. I think it's ridiculous for people to criticize his brother. And then on top of that, not only did this brother sacrifice for his people, he actually got things done, got legislation passed as a part, as a part of the overall civil rights movement. Legislation that has helped increase the numbers of black people in college, has reduced the poverty rate in the black community, has increased our political power in America. We have more black elected officials than we've ever had, more senators, U.S. senators. We have somebody that was elected president. We have more congressmen and women because of the Voting Rights Act. We have more black mayors and black city council people because of the Voting Rights Act, the act that King, through his work and through the work of the civil rights fighters and all that kind of stuff, we have these things. These people that want to criticize King can't point to one measurable accomplishment that they're responsible for that has improved the lives of black people, man. But yet they have so much to say about King. Yet they have so much to say about the civil rights movement. And I just think that that's disrespectful. I think it is disrespectful to attack an ancestor that has sacrificed so much for our people, an ancestor who's done so much for our people. And, I think that it is, again, hypocritical to claim that you admire Marcus Garvey when you are undermining the very Pan-Africanist idea and ideology that brother spent his life promoting. I think that it is hypocritical to claim to be about separation when you have zero plans to separate from America. And while you have no plans to separate from America, you discourage people from participating in the electoral process. To me, that makes zero sense at all. So let me see what you all are saying before I sign out. I don't want to make this too long. Wow, I could barely see some of these comments. Hold on, let me sit back. Maybe I'll see them then. Yeah, so, I've done plenty of videos about ADOS. Y'all are familiar with those. And these people constantly claim, well, ADOS does not oppose immigrants and doesn't hate immigrants. But yet and still, you got this rhetoric from Yvette Carnell, one of the co-founders of the movement, in Tone Talks, where they refer to black immigrants as docile, as complicit in white supremacy, as sharpening their knives, as replacing black Americans and stuff like that. They use all this hateful rhetoric. They blame them for the lack of opportunity of African Americans to get a higher education. They blame them for taking jobs, but yet and still they want to pretend like they don't hate black immigrants, man. It is a hate cult, as people pointed out in here. And you can't claim to support Marcus Garvey when Garvey was a Jamaican immigrant. These ADOS people, today they will reject a Marcus Garvey because he's not a quote-unquote ADOS. Today, these same people would reject Stokely Carmichael, who gave these people the slogan Black Power. They're saying Black Power on their programs, but yet it's the ADOS movement that would reject a brother like that who gave his, sacrificed most of his adult life fighting for us to have basic rights in this country, fighting for Pan-Africanism in this country. So let me see what y'all are saying. Yeah, man, it's just, yeah, and the whole point about the ADOS movement and it's hot in this car. Let me see if I can roll down these windows. Bear with me in a second. I'll just open the door. That'll help. Yeah, so in a lot of ways, it's sad that these ADOS people, as much as they claim to be so against white supremacy, they're immigrant rhetoric is right in line and in tune with white supremacy. It's in tune with a racist bastard like um, Donald Trump. That rhetoric is in tune with that. So it's no coincidence that you would have one of the co-founders of that movement actually wearing a Make America Great Again hat, getting all hyped up and excited about how Donald Trump conducted himself during a press conference. So let me just, I'm trying to chill, man. Let me see what else y'all are saying. Yeah, so B Money said, yeah, they're absurd. I bet they never interacted with their grandparents and elders, or as how messed up things were back then. Yeah, I mean, it's like so ridiculous for people to suggest that things are basically the same as they were back during Jim Crow days. And you got some people that go so far as to say we're still in slavery, just like our ancestors were. I mean, people make all kinds of exaggerated points, downplaying the accomplishments of the civil rights movement when these same people can't even point to any tangible accomplishments of their movement, their separatist movement. Yeah, so I don't want to keep y'all. I want to thank y'all for tuning in. I'm probably gonna do a video right after this. I want to talk about the FBI investigating black identity extremists. So you all check that out. Um, so for this video, please rate, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell so that you'll know when I post new content. I've had problems with my internet lately, so that's the only reason why I haven't been doing these live streams. But I plan to do more of these. And, I want to thank you all for tuning in. I will have more information about my campaign, my political campaign. For those of you who don't know, I am running for office here in Baltimore. I will provide more information about that, and I will create a separate YouTube channel just focusing solely on my political campaign. See, I'm not one to just talk about changing things. Unlike some of these people, like I don't just spend my time talking about things on YouTube. When other people are flipping burgers and stuff like that, I'm flipping history. I'm involved in civil rights cases that are historical, that will be heard of, years after I'm gone. You know, I'm involved in the struggle, and I'm running for office so that I can make a difference in the city of Baltimore. And I'll have more information about that soon. For those of you who missed my announcement, I'll post a link in the cards to that as well. And I will create a separate YouTube channel dealing with my candidacy. And I hope that y'all support it. To my supporters, I will have information about how you can donate to the political campaign to make a difference in the city of Baltimore. I'm tired of the things that I see in Baltimore. I mean, there are great things here, but there are things that need to be addressed. And I believe that I have the skills, I have the ability to address these issues, and I will be talking about that more. So again, I want to thank you all for tuning in. Please rate, comment, subscribe, like the video, share the video. Again, make sure you turn on that notification bell, because a lot of people are not being notified of my live streams and of my videos. So with that, peace and blessings to each and every one of you.